here I am. The son of the late Governor Jim Grasso. The woman who led the Democratic ticket for every election she ever fought in. And all I can think of is the line from Forrest Gump when he said, "Life is just a box of chocolate. You never know what you're going to get." Well, being the son of Ella was a unique experience. Probably much different than most people. From the time I could remember, it was family. And our family not only consisted of the immediate family, my grandparents across the street, my great uncle and aunt next to them, cousins on other streets, uncles on other streets, but we were all in Windsor Locks. And that was my little world, I thought. My mother's family was the entire state, all 169 towns. Let me tell you, she lived, slept, ate the state of Connecticut. And I'm sure the last thoughts in her mind was her state. I remember as a little child, I'd crawl into my mother's bed while she was reading her Agatha Christie or Hartford Courant, or at that time, the Hartford Times. Pieces of legislation, didn't matter. I'd be there next to her. And to occupy my time, I'd be looking at the far wall in the bedroom. And on that wall was a map of the state of Connecticut. Not a little map, a big map. One of those kind you find in schools where you pull down. And I'd sit there or lay there looking at that map. And I wondered, well, why is that little notch up north? And she'd explain. What's those notches down on the southwest? She'd explain. I'd look, and I had that map ingrained in my head. And I'd look further at the map, and it'd be the state seal. You've seen it. The 3 olive branches, the grapevines, and our state motto. When you're 5 years old, that meant nothing. A state seal meant nothing to me. To me, that was a caricature. The two grapevines on top were the eyes. The one in the center was the nose. And the squirrel was a smile. To me, that was a face. And as I grew up, I saw that face more and more through the years. I'd ask her questions about state history, and she'd tell me. Then she progressed through the state, became the governor. Some claim the best governor we ever had, me being one of them. And she worked hard for the state. But there was a little irritation while she served. And that was that small minority, that very small minority called the liberal wing of the Democratic Party. It was small, but it was a little burr in the side of her. Through the years, as she worked hard, that little burr became bigger and bigger, until the point that it interfered not only with her ability to run the state, but her health. I watched her literally work herself to death for the state of Connecticut, getting very little aid from the Democrat. While she was in the hospital, I stayed with her the last month or so as much as I could. I had breakfast there, I had lunch there, I had dinner there, and I left 9, 10 o'clock at night. We watched her deteriorate. And Thanksgiving, I prayed to God that she'd survive. Christmas, I prayed that God would take her. Her last moments, I was on her right side. Excuse me. Now, my son would say, "Dad, you don't know how to fix that?" and walk away. I held her, and I felt the last faint breath on my ear. I knew she was gone. And I was devastated, like all boys are when their mother passes. And I watched the state decline a little under Bill O'Neill. And I watched the state hemorrhage under Malloy. And I said nothing. I felt obligated to the Democratic Party, forgetting my mother, forgetting her legacy, forgetting what she loved, the state of Connecticut. I went to Europe, saw my family there, my Italian family, came back, saw who was running for governor, saw that he was in trouble, and then, there and then, I knew I had to speak up. I knew I had to get out and I had to do something for the state that my mother loved and I loved. So I contacted Bob, and the rest is history. Now, I've made some bad mistakes in my life, and I've made some good ones. And with all decisions, you're quite not sure. Well, after spending 2 weeks, Bob will say it was only 9 days, but when the days are from 6:30 a.m. to 9:30 p.m., it's 2 weeks, believe me. I had to use my GPS to figure out where we were at what time. But during that period, I got to know Bob. I got to know his family. I got to know Amy and the 3 girls. And let me tell you, what you see is what you get. I've never seen such a family in love with themselves and loving their own family and the state of Connecticut. I watched Bob look at Amy, and a change comes over his eyes. A change you would see in an 18-year-old boy looking at the woman or the girl he loves. I'm reaching out as the daughters come next to him, and I see energy coming into him from those embraces. You know, Bob is a gentleman when he says Ned Lamont is the same as Malloy. He isn't. He's Malloy on steroids. He'll destroy the state of Connecticut. He'll finish the job that Malloy has started. One day, I was watching him being interviewed on Fox News, and the person interviewing him made a mistake and said, "Led Lamont." And I'm not sure if I actually heard it, because sometimes the old ears play tricks on me. But I thought, you know, maybe that was a real slip in what Ned Lamont is all about. He is really a lead weight that will sink this state. Now, my announcement to support Bob might have knocked some fillings out of the teeth of some Democrats, and I hope it did. Because they should have known that Grasso loved the state of Connecticut more then she loved the Democratic Party. And if she were here today, she would be in my place, doing a better job trying to explain the situation to Connecticut. She would be supporting Bob. She would be advocating for Bob. She would be with Bob. And any Democrat or independent who thinks party loyalty is paramount, they're wrong. The state of Connecticut is paramount. This is not a do-or-die, everyday election. This is the fate of Connecticut. Connecticut has been hemorrhaging and will die if Bob is not elected. Now I call upon all those who are thinking about sitting this out or voting for Lamont. Don't, please. For the state, for the sake of Connecticut, for the sake of your families and your children, vote for Bob. Thank you.